And we're live, everybody. What is going on? I'm real excited for today's show. But before we get started, we're going to do the shout outs because I love everybody in chat. And I'm clicking on the wrong buttons all over here. I'm in front of the professional Dieter Melhorn making all sorts of mistakes here. So I know Lyle's still going strong, but I know Mr. Melhorn has to work tomorrow, so we needed to start the show. So let's say hello to everybody in chat. All right. I see Art from One Ton Fishing, avid fisherman. What's up, buddy? I see Catfish and Pappy, who is a crew member. Welcome. Betty Jean Cross in the house. What's up, sister? Central Valley Adventures. What's up, bud? Creole Catfishing, the bus driver. Ben Thomas, thanks for joining. I think that's a new name. If not, please forgive me. If you're a new person, please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. We got Fishing with Squirrel, Miss Chrissy Brown, Catfish and Pappy, which both are crew members. I appreciate your support. Oh, and thank you so much for the Super Chat, Creole. I almost missed it. I'm looking at the wrong screen, but I would have seen it eventually. I really appreciate it, my friend. You're awesome. Christina Dunnigan, congratulations on the beautiful baby. Same with you, Josh. I'm really happy for you guys. See, Dieter, they're like family to me. I know all these people. It's crazy how many people I've
That's
met.
awesome. Got them throwing some money down too. I love it.
I know. That's a good start. Fishing with the Chad. What's up, brother Chad? Another crew member. Fishing with Dom. There he is. Dom's a past guest on my show. You guys can go back and check it out. Georgia Fisherman. Get hooked on Fishing with D. Crew member. What's up, D? How are you? Hooks and Hammocks. Another crew member. What's going on, Chris? Chris had some issues with the fine state of Illinois and the tollway system. I hope he figures that out. It wasn't an easy one to deal with. I imagined having to deal with it myself. JNS Outdoors, Jamie Henge. What's going on? I'm sorry, Jeremy Henge. Forgive me. I'm old. My eyes are old. I'm looking halfway across my desk here. Thanks for checking out the show. Joe Miller, another new one. Keith Dubas Outdoors, another new one. What's going on, Keith? Keith Baker, Nuts and Bolts Fishing. What's going on, Keith? Larry King. What's up, Larry? Mad Cat or Catfishing. How you doing, Richard? Mr. Michael Morello. What's going on? Mo Creek Fishing, another crew member. What's going on, Rob? Mr. Gadget Fishing, Palmetto Cats. How you doing, Kevin? Great tournament on Friday. That was cool to watch. Spent a lot of time over there. Man, you gave a lot of prizes away. Wow, I was impressed. Parker Pursuits. Philip Williams, Robert Andrews, setting hooks and crossing eyes. What's going on, Ryan? Ryan, I got an idea about where you and I can go fishing, bud. I need to get that first blue under my belt, and I think you're just the man to talk to. Sean T Outdoors, Sharina's keeping it real. Sogo. Wow, the Down Catfish, Kenneth Paul, another new one. The Bullock Experience. What's up, Kelly? The Weekend Angler. Congratulations again, Josh. Twisted Fishing TV, another crew member. Excellent. Uncle Lou is a great supporter of my fishing habit. If you guys can share his link out to his tackle shop, I really appreciate it. Waters Lawn Care, Whiskers and Stripes. Hopefully, I'm going to go through this list. Beer Fish Fanatics. I was on their podcast. I believe it's out now, if I'm not mistaken. I shared the link out. I had a lot of fun talking to Grandy and Kit on that one. That was awesome. Catfish and Pappy, CVA. I think I got most of it. Fish Smack. What's going on, Trey? I see Trey's in the house. There's a whole Miss Cindy Stokes. What's going on, Cindy? They're starting to come in, so I'm guessing that Lyle finished up over there with Keith. That was a cool show for to Keith to be on. I imagine he's going to be on a lot more. Welcome to the Catfish and Crappie podcast. Today's guest, the great Dieter Melhorn. How are you doing, Dieter?
I'm doing good. I don't like that great in front of my name, but I'm doing good, man.
Well, I couldn't, I get it. I understand, but I'm going to stay with it. So the great Dieter Melhorn, everybody. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast. I really appreciate it. So let's get started. I know Lyle had Keith on there over from Fishing Stuff. That was cool for to see Keith get out there. I hope he's going to be on a lot more live streams, and I imagine that's going to happen. But let's talk a little bit about you. And I do want to say thank you again to Jeremy at Creole Catfishing for the super chat. And I do want to say thank you to Sogo for the super chat. You guys are awesome. And thank you for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. So Dieter, let's talk about the very beginnings. Mm-hmm. how did you start fishing? Who got you into fishing? What was your experiences like as a young man?
Yep. My earliest fishing experience, I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old, fishing on the bank of Lake Wiley, which is a lake right near me where I fish at. There was a public area to fish there, and our family would go down there and fish. And we went down there at night a lot of times fishing. And I always say my earliest memory is a tragic one. We had a Coleman lantern, one of those old gas ones. You had to pump it up. It had the mantles in it. And I, yeah, being a stupid kid, leaned over and put my hand on the top of that lantern and like burned off the skin inside of
They
my
get
hand.
hot.
Yeah. And but yeah, it was, just, and it's funny that place now at the time, it was nothing but woods, a little sandy beach. Now there's a couple of $1 million houses sitting there. Lake's still there. The beach is still there, but it's changed a little bit in the surrounding. But yeah, it was just, we're a blue collar family, mill family. Everybody worked in the mills, and we didn't have no money to have a boat or anything like that. So it was bank fishing and going down there, and I would go fishing with my neighbors. They would go a lot of times in the fall to the Outer Banks of North Carolina and go surf fishing. And I would go down with them. I got some of them pictures somewhere I need to dig up, my little dorky self, when I was about 10, 11 years old down there surf fishing. I loved it. I would be out there, some of the other kids that went would go off and be doing other stuff, and I was still out there chunking them rods out trying to catch something. And I got older. We had a friend. This is when we started having, I call them rich friends that had a lake on the house, a house on the lake. And my mom would drop me off down there, and I'd fish down there until she dragged me home. So, it was bank fishing, up until, I don't remember what year, but I was into my 20s and was out bank fishing. There was one of the hunt clubs that I hunt in, had some property that bordered up to the lake, and I would drive down through the road, get on there, and was out there fishing one day. And just like I did when I was a kid, I was sitting there and I'd watch a boat go by, and I go, man, I'm going to get me a boat one day. Same thing I said when I was a kid, I'm going to get me a boat one day. And all of a sudden it just hit me. It was an epiphany. It was like, you're a grown man. You can go buy a boat. So literally came home, went boat shopping, and got a boat and made the transition into fishing out of a boat. So, and that's kind of the quick evolution to, at least getting onto the water versus sitting next to it. But I love both. I mean, the bad thing for bank fishermen is they're very limited where they can fish. And, or at least in most places. I know they are here. Our area, I live right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Very developed. I think it's the 14th, 15th largest city now. Lake property is at a premium. Almost everything is developed. The old days of having a place where you could just go to and multiple places doesn't exist anymore. Most of it's fishing around boat ramps, a couple of bridges you get highway access to, and there's 2 or 3 public fishing piers on there, and that's it. So I feel the struggle of anybody that bank fishes. Some areas are better. Tennessee River has, a lot of access out there. There's a lot of boat ramps anyway that you can get to and have some access. Kind of the same thing on the Savannah River, but it seems like any of these lakes that are owned by utility companies and aren't tied to Corps of Engineers, it's a lot more limiting. So it's tough, and it was a big change making that transition to fishing off a boat, and that was a real game changer in finding fish and fishing.
There is a big, huge difference. I've had boats in my youth, but that was pretty much just to impress the girls or drive the family around. I was pretty much a taxi driver over on, and here's Quentin from Mid-South Outdoors, I think it's Catfish Karma now. He literally grew up like 6 houses away from where my parents had a summer shack. We called it a cottage, but it was pretty much a shack on like the narrowest, hardest to get to part of that Tippecanoe River. But anyway, that was my experience with boats on it early on, and then I got tired of the bank fishing here and the limited access and the pressured access. I bought a boat, and that was an awakening.
It is. And, again, like I said, I feel for the people bank fishing because you got, people that, want to get out and fish and it's tough to find a place. It's why I have a lot of forgiveness. And this is a controversial subject. You asked me beforehand what was off limits, and there ain't nothing off limits with Dieter Melhorn. And that is pay lakes. There's two different, well, there's probably more than two. There's multiple pay lakes. I have no problem with a pay lake per se because it gives people a place to go fish. It's accessible. They can get there. They don't get run off. A lot of them can get access to it very easily from their vehicle if they have limitations physically. Those things are good. Obviously the bad side is when you start commercializing a public resource like Catfish and turning it into basically, using that to stock your private lake. That's where my problem comes in. But that's a whole different direction we can go into if you have time.
We as much time as you want to give me, Dieter, we're here. But I totally get it, and the way they treat the fish, even once they have it, is ridiculous, and the whole cost. I'd rather see somebody. Well, and I'm going to get some probably some grief for this, but I'd rather see someone commercially sell that fish for food rather than exploit it like that. And I have enough problems with the commercial fishing industry myself. But let's not I agree. Let's not get into that topic.
Yeah. That's a whole podcast. That's a whole podcast right there.
That would be something cool to have a panel of some pros and against, but that again we'll go. So, all right. So how did that convert into your YouTube channel?
Well, I would fish like most people that go fishing, or I should say a large percentage of them. We like to brag. You can candy coat it all you want to with, I just wanted to document it. I want to have some memory. Fishermen like to brag. Fishermen catch a fish. They want to take a picture. It used to be you'd catch a fish, you throw it in a cooler and then run it around to your buddy's house and show it all to him dead. With the advent of digital photography, it became a lot easier. You could take pictures, especially with your cell phone, and you could put them up on, the Catfish forums back then, like Catfish One. That was the big popular one. There were different ones, different little groups. There were these websites. I'm speaking to people that may be 20 years old that have no clue what I'm talking about. But I started, and then I would take a GoPro and go video some of it, original GoPro, and I would throw together a 2-minute little clip of what's going on. And I had these videos, I'd do one every 6 or 8 months, would put them on YouTube, not with the intent of creating a channel or building a channel. It was basically a shelf to put them on is what it was. And it was, originally I didn't have the vision. I didn't get it. I don't think a lot of people did, but that was just a free place to put something so that somebody else could look at it. And that's what it was for me for, 7 years or so, probably like a lot of people, probably the majority of YouTube people that have a subscription do the exact same thing. You put up your kids' video, no intent for anybody to really see it. And this went on for a while. And finally, it was about 4 years ago, we got rid of cable TV and satellite TV because we just, how it is. You get on there and you're flipping through 1,296 channels and there ain't nothing on there you want to watch. And we just said, we'll get rid of it. We don't watch it that much anymore. It's usually streaming something. And started streaming YouTube. And again, naive me, don't get it. Don't have a clue as to what's going on. I start watching, I see, I knew Steve Douglas put up some YouTube videos, but I said, there's Steve. I fished tournaments against him before. He's got a YouTube channel. It's like, he's got like a little music on there, and it looks all fancy, looking like TV. I said, that's kind of cool. I could, and I looked at some other. I was like, there's some other good stuff. Who's this guy, this Black Tip H guy with all this fancy saltwater fishing and stuff put together? And you're like, there could be something more to this. So I said, you know what? did a little research into it, started looking into it. And I was like, holy crap, there's people making a living doing this. And I said, I'm going to try this. Talked to my wife about it. And we gave it 2 years. I said, let's try it for 2 years. Throw one out a week, one every couple weeks. I didn't have any clue about consistency or anything at that time. Started doing it, started getting some traction, started getting some people watching, and just kind of built on it from there. That's kind of how it started and how I got into it and got the ball rolling with it.
Very cool story. And who is the person? You mind if I ask who the person was that you were fishing with that actually had that video? I think a lot of people would recognize the name. I think I saw you post that earlier on the other chat.
Which video is that now?
You know, the person that was filming the first time you decided to do that, was that JR?
No, that was Keith. That was on Keith's. I think Keith was talking about his buddy that was with him, and I think that was JR.
And you called him out saying it was JR.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I actually had JR on the boat with me a couple of years ago. He's in some videos. He was down at the beach, the Carolina coast, the same time we were. My family was, and he actually jumped on the boat with me, and we went and actually did some trout fishing and caught some black drum and stuff down there. So we have fished together on a boat before.
That's good, because you know he likes giving people like you the business amongst other people and stuff, which is all part of it. I mean, and if anybody can take it, I know it's you. I've seen you handle worse than that. So,
listen. I live rent free in a couple of people's heads. And the amazing part is there's a lot of space in there for me to kick back and relax.
There you go.
Enjoy it, so.
That's fantastic. I like the way you think. I need to adapt that to mine, because I know I'm in a couple of people's heads too. It says, you know, the one thumbs down I already got. Now I'm going to get like 15 of them, but that's okay. I don't matter to me.
Listen, you know, your channel's growing, you're building it, and it's like somebody told me early on, you've heard me say it before, you ain't made it on YouTube or social media until you got haters, because in the beginning, it's all your buddies, your friends, your family, your mom, grandma's watching, cousin Eddie. It's when you start reaching beyond that group and get some other people out there. They're going to hate you because you're successful. They're going to hate you because you're doing something they wished they could do. And that's when you know you're making it. So,
you know, when I got my very first thumbs down a long time ago, I messaged Spencer Bauer, who would answer any question I gave him, and I told him. He says he's still laughing to this day about that. He thought that was kind of fun. So I told him, Spencer, I made it. I got my first thumbs down. It was pretty cool.
Here's the interesting thing. I had a lot of conversations with YouTube about my comments being turned off on my channel, something that they did, and we had a lot of these little chat dialogues, and we were talking about that and the comments, and they told me that, you know, I said, well, hey, I don't have comments. That, you know, you've turned them off. That's going to, and they were like, comments have no effect on your algorithm. The thumbs up and thumbs down do not affect anything with the ranking and the suggestion of your video. Years ago, it played a part, but all of that stuff can be gamed. Basically, you can convince people to do it. You know, if I get 1,000 thumbs up, I'm going to give away a t-shirt, or, you know, all of that stuff can be rigged, and that's why they kind of did away with it. They leave it up there. It gives people a way to interact and feel like they're, you know, giving you the finger or slapping you on the back, and they leave it up there for that reason, but it actually has no effect on your channel whatsoever. It's just people's little way to let out their frustration or their love for you.
Well, isn't it the way that things go when people really kind of mess up a good thing? Back when thumbs up and comments meant something, it's good to build that community with your viewers and stuff. And I still love getting comments and thumbs up or thumbs down. It is what it is. I appreciate it. But I absolutely agree. I don't think it matters that much anyway. So.
It doesn't affect anything. And you're right about ruining a good thing. And that's what ends up happening. That's why the comments were shut down on so many channels, is because you got weirdos out there. And, you know, the thing is with my channel, if you want to send me a message or contact me, there's a way to do it. And I tell it in every video. There's a link to my website in every one of my 600 and some videos. All you got to do is take the time and effort to go do that. You can send me an email. You can call me. You can send me a text message. What people want, most of the ones that just want to do something bad, flip you off, basically a drive-by comment, They want something with no accountability to them. They just want to be able to say and do it under whatever pseudonym they've got on there, and then move on. I call it,
They went.
it's a drive-by comment.
Yep.
If they have to put any effort into it,
Nope.
it'll never happen.
It's that instant access that trolls love.
Yep,
They really do. And if you don't like somebody's content or whatever I'm doing or whatever, just don't watch. That does me more damage than anything, and I can concentrate on the people that are watching. That's the way I've kind of went to it. So, all right, so we went over your YouTube, and how's your YouTube career doing these days?
It's literally, it could be a full-time job. Now it's a half-time job along with 2 other half-time jobs, which if you do some good North Carolina Gaston County math, that's like 1.5 full-time jobs. It's crazy right now. There's a lot going on. A lot of people that have followed me know that, I do work in the video production world. Last year that was shut down because of COVID. We didn't do anything, 0 work whatsoever from March until I think it was the end of July, 1st of August. And that was like crazy. At the time, you know how it was then, our perspective is different now, but you're at the time, when's this ever going to end? Is this ever going to change? Is it ever going back to normal? So I doubled down on YouTube and on the guide business, which I had done a little bit of, but I kind of put the word out there. So I started doing guide trips, started doing YouTube, was doing 3 videos a week then, because I had the time to do it. I can't do that now. I'm keeping it at 2, and I'm scratching and clawing to keep up with that. But the YouTube channel is going great. I'm creating what I think is good, entertaining content, informative content. Some of it funny and goofy and stupid, like putting my finger in a catfish's vent.
We were going to get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. But it's also, even something like that is educational. It's teaching somebody something about catfish. And that's the biggest thing I get from people who reach out to me, is they want to learn. The people on my guide trips have been a ton of information because they ask questions that they may feel silly asking, in a message somewhere or publicly, but they ask questions, and I sit there and go, I need to do a video on that, because if you're asking that question, there's 100,000 other people out there that want to know that same thing about, what do you mean by J hook and circle hook, or why can't you just tie a regular knot around that fishing line, or what exactly is the difference between monofilament and braid? Simple little stuff like that. Or what's a Carolina rig? It's stuff that we take for granted as fishermen, even casual fishermen, that you think people that are new to it are going to know. And so it's been a good education and all that, getting all that going on. So the long answer to your question is things are kind of crazy. I'm trying to figure out what the new normal is going to be. I know it's like everything else in the world. It's kind of going crazy. It's going to relax some. We'll get back to normal at some point, but I've been blessed with the ride so far. So I'm just going to keep on keeping on.
And I sure everybody in chat appreciates you taking us on that ride. That's another thing that's cool about YouTube. You get to share in someone's adventures. So not so much everybody puts out their life story in there and stuff, but there's always part of it that's reflected in their passion for fishing. So which is why I always start my show with where your humble beginnings are. So all right, since you mentioned it, sticking your finger in a catfish's butt.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see the size of the clams that came out of there, or the mussels.
Those were actually on the small side. We have some that are that big coming out of these fish. And it actually happened. There was a trip. I don't think that video's out yet. I was out fishing with my son, and we had picked up a mature blue, 20-some pounds, got it in the boat, and it started crapping out that gray stuff, that light gray stuff, which is a sign that they're eating mussels. That's what the stuff looks like. And I told him, I said, next trip, I said, we're going to have to show people, because I always get that comment when you see that big thing sticking out of the vent on a catfish. And that's what the hole on the catfish is called, by the way. It's not technically a butt, but
it's a vent, right?
It's a multi-purpose opening.
What is it called?
A vent, V-E-N-T.
Okay, that's what I thought. Right.
And I told him, I said, we need to show people what that is. And I hear all the time, it's like, oh, you brought that fish up from too deep of water. And I said, no. I said, that's the air bladder you're talking about. That comes out of its mouth. I said, this is something you see happening this time of the year and into the summertime when these fish start, eating them. The first thing that clued me into it, I picked one up one time like that. It's getting a picture moving around, and it was just like, doom, 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 doom. The mussels just come flying out of the thing.
Really?
All the shells. And I said, what the heck? I knew what the heck it was. Because, early on, the reason I knew all this was because I'd seen that early on, didn't know what it was. And, I was like, maybe you need to push that back in there or something wrong with the fish. But I had some biologists explain what the heck's going on with it. So yeah, it's, is it clickbait? It is, yes, it is something that entices you to watch a video. Is it something that's not rewarded with something that's there? Absolutely not. I told you I was going to do it in the title, and by grannies, I did it, and it's in the video. And
well, I actually learned something because we don't have the
bingo.
The mussels and the clams like that here. Yeah. We have them, but they're I guarantee you, unless they're a flathead, they're huge. They're literally like 6 to 8 inches across. So speaking of that,
those big ones. Yeah.
New school fishing in the house. He says, I'm pretty sure it's called a butthole. I couldn't let that one slide.
Welcome to the party, New School. Glad to see you in here.
Very cool. So yeah, I saw that this morning pop up on my notifications. I'm like, okay, I got to see this, which I imagine a lot of people did. So
yeah, and it's again, if it's an opportunity, to make something kind of funny, entertaining, and educate some people, that's awesome. It's getting, because I've said from the beginning, when you have educated anglers, they are going to be better stewards of the resource in the end. And when you got people that understand why things are the way they are, they're just going to be more receptive to protecting our resource. And that's kind of one of my big picture goals in there, that you have to attack a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned something in the video, which is why you think that catfish love chicken, because they resemble that food source.
Yeah, I think it has. And I've had some people reach out to me that were into chemistry and biology and got into some long-winded explanations of it. And I'm going to get somebody on camera that can explain it scientifically, but it has to do with some of the basic things that are in each of them, in the mussels and in the chicken. And, we kind of take our, like with a lot of things with animals, we take our human, perception of something, and we try to apply it to a fish. And people all the time try to make something as stinky and as smelly as it can be, because they think that if something stinks really bad, there's a dead deer across the road, I can smell it over here, then the bigger and the stinkier it is, it means it's got to be easier to find. When the way things work with catfish, that whole smell thing is something totally different. So the point is that what they are sensing isn't necessarily a smell. Because listen, I used to joke about this. I said, catfish, people use chicken livers forever. Probably one of the oldest catfish baits there is. But, down through history, we've never seen chickens waddle up to the edge of the water and expel their liver into the lake or river. It's not natural. It's not a normal bait. But there's fundamental components in, pretty much any protein that these fish are drawn to, and that's
the aminos, right?
Yeah, the amino acids. And I think there's, I don't know exactly how to prove it outside of getting somebody with a spectrometer and breaking this stuff down and looking at it, but there seems to be some common ground there in those scents and some of that basic stuff. And coincidentally, it seems like they seem to feed on it in those areas heavier than others. Now, I will say this, we've caught some big flatheads on it, but the percentage of flatheads isn't as high as it is with the blues and the channel cats. So, the bad thing is I don't catch a ton of flatheads anyway, so you don't have the numbers to make the comparisons. But, people have brought up, well, you catch smaller fish on it. Well, sort of. sort of. I did some when I tracked all this stuff, because I'm Dr. Catfish when it comes to tracking stuff, because I don't like I tried chicken one time and it didn't work, so I didn't use it again. Well, I've had days where it didn't work either, but over a long period of time, I just got some new numbers in there in the house on it. I think 110 catfish, 71% of them came on chicken. That was on the strawberry chicken, the strawberry jello stuff. Since then, I'm starting to do it plain. I personally don't think the jello makes a difference. We'll get to that in a second. But I also track the weight. The weight's equally split. So there's not a big significant difference. Some of the people in chat may have been on guide trips with me, and they will know how many times I looked at them and go, which rod did that come on? And, these are 20, 30, 40. I think we had one at 51 pounds, or two of them in the 50s that came on the chicken. So, is that 80, 90 pound fish? No, but we don't have those kind of fish in this water either. Mm-hmm. So when you start catching 30, 40, 50 pound fish on it, they're in the upper echelon of what the fish are in the waterways that I fish. Listen, if things had not got so busy, my plan was to find some people that poo-pooed the idea on the Mississippi or the Missouri River, or, Gunners for wherever, and go fish on the boat with them and try it side by side, because I don't know that it works everywhere as good. I get a lot of feedback from people daily that it does work good, but there may be areas where, that they don't have a lot of mussels or, mollusks in the water there. The fish aren't attracted to it as much. I don't know. That's why I'd love to go try it in some places legitimately for a few days of fishing, not just a one-off deal, and see how it compares and see if there is a difference in some places.
Cool. Yeah, that was kind of my initial question. I'm an analyst by trade, so I kind of look at that. It's got to be over a certain amount of time, but it is interesting, this stuff. And I don't doubt that you don't keep all of those records, so that's kind of cool to know. Maybe I'll have to try chicken. I don't know. I don't fish with chicken, not because I poo-poo chicken. I have my own reasons, but it's more of a Hemingway reason. I kind of like the experience of the whole start to finish thing. So
nothing wrong with that.
I try to explain that to a lot of people, but
and the reason I did it was because not everybody, and I'm working on a video now that's kind of along the same lines, is not everybody has time to go out and catch bait or a place to catch bait. There's so many people that just want to take their kid fishing. Kids watch one of Luke Nichols' videos. He wants to go catch catch catfish, and Dad's like, well, I don't know where to, I don't know what to go. It's a simple, easy bait somebody can use, and we'll save the argument for biggest fish and all that stuff some other time. This is for people that just want to catch fish, and that's what I realized with doing the YouTube channel was, I don't have tournament fishing when watching my channel except to make fun of me. They're not watching my stuff to learn anything. They don't watch anybody's stuff to learn anything, because most of them feel they know pretty much everything anyway. The people who watch my channel are people that want to learn, want to expand, want to become better anglers. And, that's who this stuff is targeted for. So, that's why I initially started doing it.
You need to do a worm video, dragging worms off the back of your boat. That'd be interesting to see.
I actually got a tub of worms, a few, and we shot some bluegill fishing videos and had planned to do that. And then the worms ended up getting used to catch bait. So.
Yeah, pretty much to catch bait. Yeah, always. It looks like for people listening at home, Catfish Dave was in the chat. It looks like he's getting timed out by some of my moderators, so I'll have to go back and read that chat. But that's always fun to see the drama in the chat room. So it happens once in a while here, Dieter. I kind of get a kick out of it. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
I miss it. I was paying too much attention that what was going on, but.
There we go. There we go. That's perfect. I need to get a sign for the show. That's a brilliant idea.
Hopefully somebody gets a screenshot of that.
Wait, move over a little bit and we'll get it right.
I got
There we go. There we go. The opposite way. Perfect. There you go. I'm happy that you're wearing my hat if somebody screenshots that too.
There we
Good
go. We get some publicity going on. Absolutely.
Trying to be a YouTuber at heart. So,
Yeah.
someone's saying you need to switch to bacon. I used to use bacon a long time ago when I used to fish. When I started fishing, I used to use hot dogs, and they all caught me fish, so I can't complain about it anyways.
Yeah.
And of course, that chicken liver. Luke Nichols got a huge channel. Everybody knows Catfish and Carp. He even showed how to toughen chicken livers. I went through and did all of that stuff. So cool.
Hey, listen, Dieter didn't invent strawberry chicken, okay? I seen it on Luke's channel. I seen it on other channels. That ain't nothing new. And honestly, it started, some people who follow the channel know this story. It started as a joke for me to poo-poo the idea of using chicken because, hey, no catfish going to eat chicken. That's just, that's just gimmicky.
I would never say that, Dieter.
Yeah, and I went out and I took one of my son's friends fishing. We smoked a fish on chicken that day. We had shad right beside it, and I was like, we just came through a good area, whatever. It was smaller pieces. They were only hitting small pieces that day, but these were 16, 17, 18-pound fish. And I tried it alone some more and caught fish, but I'd never take it on a guide trip because no self-respecting guide would put chicken on a boat. You got to go out and you got to throw the cast net, and you got to get up early or go out late, and you got to go catch a bunch of perch, and then one day I had a guide trip and it was hideous fishing. I mean, it was hideous, and did a little swap out, put some chicken on, boom, night and day started catching fish. So some of that was timing, probably. That was late summer. That probably played a part in it. But, that kind of convinced me the stuff works. Some people have asked me, would I fish a tournament with it? Yes, I would. Would I fish it exclusively with it? No, I won't. Now, I still don't do that now when I go out with it. I always fish it side by side with cut bait, whether I'm using perch or whether I'm using gizzard shad or whatever. I always fish it side by side. I don't sit there and go, oh, this is the only thing that's, going to catch fish. But a higher percentage of fish have come on it, and some big fish have come on it. So yeah, I would use it in a tournament. And,
so that was going to be one of my questions where, how did you get started using chicken? Actually, Stan from Two Stands Fishing asked me that in the live chat the other day. He's like, so how did Dieter get started using chicken? I said, you know what? I'll ask him. So consider this asked, Stan.
And listen, Dieter's a wind-up toy, and once you get me talking, I'll just tell everything. So yeah, that's how it got into it. And I'll continue. The thing now is I'm just using it without the Jello on it. I don't think the Jello plays that big a part. Two of the chemists that I talked to, one of them got really into the Jello. The gelatin is made up from collagen, broken down pig parts, blah, 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 which has a high concentration of the same amino acids in them. Their thesis is that it helps bond some of those amino acids to this, that, and the other. But I don't know that it makes that big of a difference. I think some people get, they go, oh, it looks like blood. And, I've always said, I said, first, catfish can't see in most places where they attack your bait. Second, blood doesn't really come into the equation when it comes to catfish and what they would normally eat. The only thing that you could make, an argument for blood playing a part, real blood, is that it's in liquid form and, broken down parts of, those same amino acids. And that's why some of the blood baits work so good, where people actually use the separated blood from different animals to, fish with. But as far as color and thinking it's blood and all that, I mean, it's isn't like out in the ocean where you got, sharks and everything else biting and toothy critters. These animals engulf bait. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They don't chew on it. They engulf it. The only thing they'll let go of a bait for is to spin it around to get it head first to go down. That's their only reason to let go of something. So I think the plain chicken is going to produce just as many fish. That is my thinking on it. And we'll see. I've got 4 trips tracked with it already.
Cool. And you had mentioned sharks, so I wanted to ask you a little bit about your saltwater fishing
Yep.
and how much of that you've been doing. I know you do some of it, and are you guiding on saltwater as well?
I've done a couple of trips, and it's
Uh,
only because I'm down there. I don't actually, because I'm 4 hours from the coast.
okay.
When some people found out that I was going down, they hit me up and said, "Hey, and listen, I'm straight up honest. I'm just a redneck fisherman when it comes to saltwater. I'm not going down there to catch, dolphin and tuna and jig for flounder. I'm going to catch something. And fishing for sharks is very similar to fishing for catfish. It does not take a whole lot of specialized tackle or techniques or a big massive boat. You just basically work your way up the food chain with bait. And if you're looking for bigger fish, just like you do with catfish, you chunk out the bait the size of your leg and you eliminate all the little ones. And yes, people have asked, have I tried chicken down there? I have not tried chicken yet down there, fishing for sharks. I'm going in a few weeks to Florida. That may be on the agenda to try that out. But no, the shark fishing's fun because when you put those baits out, you never know what's going to hit. It may be a 3-foot sharp nose. It may be an 8-foot tiger shark, and it's fun. It's fun. There's nothing. You don't know how strong a fish is when you've been fishing freshwater until you hook into a saltwater fish of the same weight, because they are a totally different animal, totally different power, and a real tackle test.
It's a different kind of fight. I know. Just I fished it landlocked salmon,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's night and day between that
Yep.
and even like the biggest freshwater fish
Yeah.
I've hooked into. So it's a cool thing. And one of my dream fish is a giant trevally. So one of these days I hope to
Mm-hmm.
get out and do some of that
Yep.
and some shark fishing. So
Yep.
I didn't realize you were 4 hours away. I thought you were closer and did a little more fishing than that. Or do you travel
Yeah.
that much?
Well, we go down there. We've got a camper down at one of the beaches, and we'll go down there and stay for a week. So we do that a few times a year. So when I'm there, there's a good concentration of it going on. I'd hope to do more this year, but it's just got busy with stuff. The I enjoy doing it. It's fun. The thing with saltwater, you're at the mercy of the weather as far as getting
Hmm.
outside the jetties into the ocean. So if the weather's bad, you're stuck inside the jetties, or up in the bays and stuff. The thing is with the saltwater stuff, it doesn't do good on my channel. It's stuff that I put up
Hmm.
because I want to do it and I enjoy it, and but because of probably 90% of my people are like me. They're not living on the coast; they're living inland somewhere. So shark fishing doesn't really appeal. The funny thing is, I have licensed footage from those fishing trips two different times, last year and year before last, to shows that were doing stuff for Shark Week for Discovery Channel, two different
Oh, that's
production
cool.
companies that were, yeah, they needed shots of like, some of these smaller sharks and sharks. They wanted sharks that were being released and not killed.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was kind of interesting. Out of all the stuff I've got out there, it comes down to shark fishing that,
Actually
somebody
got
finds.
licensed, right?
Yeah, that is something people have actually found applied to use. So, but it's
That's
fun.
pretty interesting. Tirador Arco, that's Al down in New Mexico. He's asking, have you ever caught the same fish twice or thought you caught the same fish twice? Our
Yeah,
cat's
that's a good.
territorial.
It's a good question. What started us tagging those things about 7 or 8 years ago with fish tagger tags, and we started catching some. There was a group of us here. We had a catfish organization here in this area, and we bought tags. We tag them. It was put on fishtagger.com, and we had there was probably 6 or 7 that were recaught. Probably the most. Several of them were in the same area. Uh, Within a half mile of each other, a quarter
Hmm.
mile, very narrow area. One that was very interesting was we had a tournament and it was on the lower end of the lake. This is probably 16 miles from where the fish was caught. And Jeff Manning, he had caught it and brought it to the weigh in. I tagged it. We put it back in down there. So it's 18 miles away. 11 months later, I catch it back up the river, saw the tag, looked it up. I called him. I said, "Hey, where'd you catch that fish at?" He told me. Roughly, we were within a quarter mile of each other of where that fish. So that fish swam about 3 miles down a creek arm, made a left turn, and went back up the river to that area where it was caught at. So, um, you know, used to think, man, that's just crazy. But you look at a lot of animals in the wild. You look at honeybees, how they're able to find their way back to that same hive, and they'll go miles and miles. You look at I had a guy on the boat as a guide trip. You get to meet cool people, and they did pigeon racing, and they will.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah, they will take these pigeons hundreds of miles, all the way down to Georgia, and turn them loose, and they'll fly back to their place in New York or wherever. So animals have that ability. So, you know, is there something there that catfish liked that kind of clicked in its head and it said, I want to stay here? Who knows? There's been tracking studies done did one on Lake Norman up here by a research student with radio telemetry, and they tracked them. And some fish made this big run in the springtime, whether it was following bait, spawning, whatever. And there were some fish stayed within a half mile of where they were tagged at. So they will move. I guess it's not technically a migration. It's a movement, which I guess scientifically somebody has told me there's a difference in that. But yeah, it's they will move, but there's a lot of them that seem to stay in the same areas or at least very close to it.
I believe that to be true. I also believe that some do travel. I mean, until somebody gets enough data to compile a good, at least of 1,000 cases or so, no one's really going to know. I've caught the same flathead within a half hour.
Wow.
I didn't realize it until I waited. I'm like, wait a minute, because it's the same scale. It weighed like within ounces of each other because of the swing and the little difference. The other quarter of my mouth was a hole compared to picture to the other one, and the marks matched. Man, they forget really quick. It was within a half hour, so I give them 15 minutes and they've forgotten already. So either that or that flathead, either that or that flathead was one of the mean ones. You know, some are meaner than others. Speaking of flatheads, I was watching a live stream with you and Grayson, and man, he's growing up. Seeing him today on that video, he's growing like a weed. Good for you. You must be feeding him good. Mom's taking good care of him. So
yeah, we're make sure he doesn't turn out like Daddy here.
Well, I wish him and your family all the success in the world. So, you guys were fishing and you guys were dragging baits on a live, and I remember you guys were catching crappie, and then he hooked into that big flathead. I don't remember how big it was. It was his PB at the moment, but has that changed?
Yeah, I think. If it was the one on the live, which that video did good for some reason, usually live streams doesn't do real good. That one did good for some reason. It seems like that one was 28, 30 pounds, and I think he's up to 36 pounds now. I think he caught one the next summer that was bigger, and he caught a good one the other day. That'll be in a video here coming out, I think, in a couple weeks, and you know, it's 33 pounds, and you know, I said, congratulations, son. You're at the point now where a great fish isn't your personal best anymore. I said, so that shows you've been fishing for a while when it gets, because, you know, that's a great fish. That's a big fish. That's a good fish anywhere, you know. A limit of those in any tournament and you'll be doing good. But, yeah, he's done good. He's been, you know, he's blessed that he can sit here and ask me how fishing went on a guide trip when I come in. And if I go, man, they're on fire, he's like, let's go fishing tomorrow. And if I come in and go, man, it was tough today, he's like, oh, okay. Well, let me know how the next trip goes.
I think I'll play Call of Duty, right?
Yeah, he can pick and choose when he gets to go. But he's doing. It's interesting what sticks with kids, and for anybody out there that takes kids fishing, and you know, maybe your grandkids, your neighbor kids, or whatever, and man, you think them little rugrats ain't listening to you, and you're sitting there telling them something, and you know, they're just kind of staring off into space, and you don't know if they're listening. But man, them little suckers will come back 2 years later, and you know, I've seen it with Grayson we'll have one of his friends on the boat, or we'll have my older daughter, his older sister on the boat, and he'll be playing guide. He'll be, you know, you got, you know, to lift that rod, don't let that tip, you know, bend, you know, you got to reel down, don't put them, you know, he's like, dang. You did listen. That's kind of cool. But for people out there that's taking kids, you know, that's the thing, man. You got a chance to have an impact on them and, you know, put something into them that, you know, will be with them for life. And it's something good. It's something positive. So there you go.
Keith has a question. He says,
yeah, I know. Keith's asking the same question I asked him during the thing.
How much time do you spend on a thumbnail?
About 30
And it
seconds, dude. I just, here's my thumbnail. I'll get one for this video. It'd be like, just get me a selfie here. That's funny. That's funny. No, Keith and I, because Keith and I live near each other, actually. I know you, we were talking earlier, and
Yeah, I got a question about that whole side of the country. I know there's good fish in the water, but what's in the water that makes all you guys want to have YouTube channels over there?
here's what I honestly
drinking
believe
water.
it is. I think a lot of people seen my stupid butt get out here and make a channel, and they go, well, if that idiot can create a YouTube channel, I know that I can. That's what Keith did. Keith said, I'm smarter than that bag of rocks. And but we got Keith. Keith's got a channel. Got Jeff Manning, Team Reeling the Blues. He's got one that's, yep, he's cranking out some interesting stuff, working on a boat. We've actually got somebody here in town with a silver play button, believe it or not, that has nothing to do with fishing. He owns a barbecue restaurant, and he does nothing but shoot like guns. And he's actually got a silver play button. So yeah, there's some people around that are, like I said, I think they just looked at me and said, you're an idiot, so anybody can do it. So, but we're lucky that we got, the biggest thing is just having waterways nearby. I think that's the thing that makes it easy for me to do what I do. I'm 12 minutes from a boat ramp, and I'm blessed that I'm 12 minutes from a lake that has, decent catfish in it. I can catch, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 pound fish out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can do that. And that really hit home with me when I had a lot of people from Eastern Kentucky that would come down here and fish with me, or Western Virginia. And I'm like, man, ain't there something up there or something? They're like, no, we don't have any good catfish waters. There's catfish waters around, but as far as, maybe rivers that you have to run miles on to figure stuff out. So we're blessed that we are 12 minutes from a lake, and we've got 3 above it, and lakes all the way down to Santee Cooper, which is only 3 hours away, that we can fish. So I think that has helped. You got a lot of people that are into fishing, even though like Keith's channel, he doesn't do fishing videos. He does fishing related videos, but he, grew up fishing. So he has a background in it and knows it and knows what people need. And, on top of that, he's like Jeff Manning. They're master craftsmen with their hands on making stuff. That's the cool thing about both of them. They can, build all kinds of crap. So, they're usually ones I call up when I have a problem with something. You can ask Jeff and ask, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? They're good at doing that stuff. So you take that with a little bit of location and a little bit of drive, and people put out some good content.
Jeff Manning talking about playing golf, and I always say those who can't fish play golf. So that really confused the heck out of me.
Here's what Jeff hadn't told you. Jeff is like a super bowler, and he was known on the old Catfish One as Bowler Man. That's what his original name was. And we are talking a guy that throws multiple 300 games. And, it's kind of what I joked with him about. He got into fishing, did real good in fishing, and, doing good in tournaments. And, I said, dang, you're going to go play golf and be shooting a 68 every week. And I said, you'll probably have a YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers. It's like everything he touches turns to gold. But, he's been playing golf some. So who knows what he's going to get into.
He make it real good at that. I also saw him fill up his bait tank. And that boat rebuild video that he's doing, I'm kind of following away with that, wishing that I knew how to weld. That's the only thing that he does is give me some self-loathing complex when I watch that stuff. So,
but that's what I told him, and Keith and I have talked about too. A lot of times, I'll watch Keith's videos, and the thing about Keith's videos and Jeff's too is not so much that I'm going to go do that, but like Keith does with his, he tells a great story, and that's more important than anything when it comes to YouTube. You either got to answer somebody's question on something very specific, and that video needs to be 3 minutes long. How to check a capacitor on whatever. People want to know how to do that. I don't give a crap about any of the pomp and circumstance and build up. Or you need something that's entertaining and a story. And that's what Keith does with his, is that you got something that you're going to start with, a pile of junk, and at the end of it, you're going to have a rod holder bucket that carries all your tackle to the lake. And I'm not going to build that. I don't need it, but it's entertaining to watch. It's like with Jeff's video with the boat. he got this old boat and tearing it apart, stripping it apart, and pulled all the foam out from underneath the floor. It's waterlogged with, several 100 pounds of water. It was cool to see that. And then what he puts together and makes, that's the way you can take something like that, and you got to do the same thing when it comes to catching fish too.
Yeah, he's entertaining while he's doing it, and you got to be the same way when
Yeah.
you're fishing, right?
Yeah, and that's something I strive to do more of and make that, because it's hard, in my opinion, to make fishing interesting, as crazy as that sounds, to keep people captivated and motivated by it. Some people do it with their personality. You got somebody like Richard Jean, the fishing machine.
Yes, sir.
He's like your drunk uncle. He's just, he's country, he's goofy, he's real. And, he's somebody that you can sit there and listen to and feel comfortable with. Not everybody has that. I don't have that. So I have to, do something different in that world. But some people are just comfortable and they have that going for them. And, that's a cool thing. I think that's one of the things with Keith's channel. I think Keith is very trustworthy, lovable. You just want to squeeze his little head and rub his little mohawk on top. He's just he's a good guy. He's a good guy in person. For people that don't know him, he's just as good in person as he comes across on there. He's not as goofy as he is in his videos. He's actually a little more serious. So
Keith was real. Keith was real supportive of me when I first got started. Him and Spencer both, so I owe them a lot. They kind of got me to get out of my shell. They're just like, do it and quit bothering me is pretty much the cliff notes on that. So, all right. So you're guiding now. How do you like guiding?
I love it. It's very rewarding. It's a very rewarding day on the water. If you catch fish and have a great day, it's like super rewarding. But just the fact of getting out there, it took a little while to get the right perspective on it, because most people, and I hear this repeatedly from anybody I know that fishes a tournament, I just don't know how you go out there trying to catch, big fish all the time. Well, I don't. You can't do that. It's great if you catch big fish, but people who are guide, at least people I target that I want to fish with me, I don't sell this as a trophy guide service or we're catching trophy fish. I don't put stuff up that's just, the highlight reel of the past, the great fishing trips. I'm pretty much straight up about it. And, you're going to go catch the same kind of fish I catch in my videos. If you're cool with that, great. If you want to go someplace that you're just going to catch a 50-pounder, I'll hook you up with somebody, Trey Thorpe, down there on the James River. You go fish with him. You got a lot better chance of doing that. We're going out. We're going fishing. We're going to have a good time. And the thing that a lot of people overlook is most of these people, a lot of them anyway, don't have a chance to get out and go fishing. A lot of them don't have a boat. A lot of them don't have the stuff to go fishing. They don't have the tackle. They don't have the right type. Maybe they got a boat. They don't have the right tackle. They watch some fishing videos. It's a lot harder when you're doing it than it looks in the video. So, that's the biggest thing, is a lot of these people just want to go out and, get out on the water. And we forget about that, doing what we do all the time. And it took me a little while to get a perspective on that. And once I did, I'm like, that's cool. We're going to, if it's a good day, great. If it's a great day, even awesomer. Awesomer's a word. Look it up. So it's, so I love doing it.
I thought that was just a Keithism.
Yeah. It's the thing you got to be careful of. Me and some of my buddies that are guides around here, we talk about it, is, you go out there and you catch, I don't know, you catch first fish in a boat's 12, 14 pounds, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good one. You have to be careful not to go, or let's say it's just 8 or 10 pounds. You have to be careful not to downplay it, because you don't know how many times somebody's caught one of them fish and they're like, oh my God, I got to get a picture with, that's the biggest fish I've ever caught. And you're like, don't downplay that. That's a big, that may be they may not fish. They may be from a place where they just don't have fish that size. They're catching nothing but little channel cats. Yep. And you got to keep that in perspective. And, realize that this is their experience, not yours.
Not yours, exactly.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it
probably
helps if you. I think it helps if you experience it too. Because I remember, I took a friend of mine out for a long time channel cat fishing before I took him flathead fishing, and he got on a 14-pound flathead, and he thought it was like the end of the world. He was so happy and excited, and that kind of made me take a step back. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and you just have to do that, and it's once you do that, you're good. I have people ask all the time, "What's your worst guide trip client?" I've not really had any bad ones. The probably the worst thing, I had a guy that was real quiet. He was Mr. Yes and No answers, and obviously you can tell by how much I run my mouth. I don't run it this much on the boat. Usually I get them to talk, but he didn't talk, so I ended up having to do like a solo podcast out there or something. So,
Palmetto Cats Kevin wants to know if you thought your Uniknot video would blow up like it did.
yeah, funny story on that. I created that video. We were going to the beach. I think it was last May, June, somewhere in there. And we'd already had the place reserved. COVID had hit. And I was like, man, I need to do a video to put up before I go. And I was like, you know what? I'll do one on this Uniknot. People ask about it. I said, there's a million videos out there on it. There's tons of them. I said, it's a good knot, though. I can point people to it. And put the thing up, drive them to the beach, and I'm looking at my app on my phone. And I was like, oh, I said, it's got a couple hundred views there in the first hour. And which at that time was pretty good on my channel. Drive down the road. I figured I'll do okay. Get down the road, and I don't know, it was a couple hours later, it's at 1,000. And I think in the first day it had like 10,000 views, which at the time my channel had 24,000, 23,000 subscribers. And I was like, this one's going to do good. This one's going to do good. And never would have thought it would be one that would go like that. And it has. So it's one of those videos that has appeal outside of catfish. And that is one of them videos I need more of. And I need to make that segue into that. And I think that's what helps a lot of fishing channels get to that next level. Not that you can't do it in the catfish niche, but you look at Richard Jean, the Fishing Machine, good example. Great fishing channel, great freshwater fishing channel. He fishes for a lot of different species and a lot of different stuff in there. I think that helps with your reach, in addition to having a great charming personality like he does. I think, even catfish and carp, the biggest, without a doubt, the biggest fishing channel in the catfish niche that there is. He branched out and added some other stuff, added some lifestyle stuff. So I think you have to do that at some point. And that's one that, there's people around the world watching that video. That one, when you look at the analytics on it, it's a big, a lot of my stuff is like 95% United States. That one, there's stuff all over the world watching that. And so, yeah, didn't expect that one to happen. Pretty cool when it does happen.
Yeah, Kevin mentioned he had 1.9 million views. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, he wants to. Jeremy Henge wants to know if are you going to do a video of you using an 808 and a 33 rod and reel from Walmart?
Yeah, I've got actually an 808 that one of my guide clients sent to me that is on the rod. I put it actually on an ugly stick, an old ugly stick catfish rod, and
perfect.
I shot I shot a couple of days with it, and then we really didn't catch anything decent on it. Then I got into guide trip back to back to back, and then there were specific fishing videos I needed, and I haven't put it back on the boat is the bottom line. But it's spooled up, and I'm probably going to put it after we get here into July and August. I'm going to go out if I have to fish with just one rod, and that's it. I'm going to fish with it, and I'm going to try to catch some. I want something to tear it up. I mean, I want to see what it's made of. I may go out and, I don't know, but take it somewhere. I may take it out to James River or somewhere and try to hook
there you go
in a whole bunch of currents just so I can burn the thing up just to see. But if I catch a 60-pound fish on that thing, I hope I'm in on the sales of that reel going through the roof. So.
Get some of that royalty money. It's hard to do. So you're doing your podcast also live on, or you're posting them on YouTube
Yeah.
as well as in podcast format. I've been listening to your podcast probably since pretty darn close to the beginning.
Hmm.
I really enjoy it a lot. I've tell this to a lot of people. I'm more of the heady type of angler and such. So tell us a
Right.
little bit about how that's going. I know you had Lyle Stokes on there. That was a cool show. I even got a shout out from Lyle on that. So thank you, Lyle. How is that going for you? Are you doing it because you really like to? What's the reasoning and such?
Yeah. I started doing the podcast because there wasn't one anymore. Chad Ferguson used to do one. I used to listen to his.
Mm-hmm.
He quit doing it. And I listen to a lot of fishing podcasts, and a lot of them are saltwater.
Bass ones, a lot of them, freshwater,
Yeah, I don't
walleye
listen to
guys.
Well, I listen to Mike Akinelli. He's got a good radio show,
He's
podcast show.
entertaining.
Yeah, and but the ones that were good were doing stuff that was kind of broad reaching, and the people that they were in, it was good interviews. And but anyway, I was just doing something to get information out there. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like what I was doing in the beginning. It's okay.
It's funny you said that because I really liked what you were doing in the beginning,
Yeah,
Dieter.
it's good, and I'm still going to do them, but I wanted to do some of the interviews, and kind of the Joe Rogan kind of thing, and really peel the onion back and get into some. And I'll be honest with you, not everybody's going to be cut out for that. Okay, not everybody's going to be a good subject for that. But that would only be because they're not willing to talk. Because I think everybody has a story, especially when it comes to fishing, and I think there's something interesting to get out of everybody. Lyle, he volunteered up to be my first guinea pig, and I got him, and we went through, kind of the paces on it, and we got a good one with him. And when I went to the Catapalooza Fishing Expo a few weeks ago, I convinced Caleb Page from Catch the Fever to sit down with me, and got a good one with him. We got done, and I was like, man, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I said, you said some things in there that were, you don't even realize you said. And, he said, like what? And I said, well, I think 2 times you said, I've never told anybody this before. And I was like, that's what I'm looking for is, there's just a lot of kind of brushing across the surface with stuff. And I like getting a little bit deeper. And I've got a couple more. I did one with Melton Hill Bill, big striper fisherman out there. I'm actually going to do some more stuff with him later this year. He was a fun one to talk to. Got one coming out probably in 2 weeks, and it'll be the best one yet. So I'll leave it at that. It's the best one yet. You'll see some promotional stuff about it when it comes out. I think it's really phenomenal. The big thing is, I think these things with the people I've talked to, I think these podcasts endear you to them and their brands and who they are. Billy's a guy. Caleb, owns a rod company. I think it endears you to them and lets you know their story. And it kind of, I got new respect for these guys after talking to them. And I think that's what I want to do. I want to do more of those. I'll still do some fishing stuff and some tackle stuff talking about that because I think people want to see that too. But I enjoy the interviews, and I decided to video them. You've seen that. It's not you asked why do I do it. I don't do those for reviews. They're not going to get big views. They never will. They're what I call they're tough to watch in that you really have to be into it. They're not for the casual viewer. They're not designed to get a lot of views. They're designed for somebody. I got a lot of people that don't know what a podcast is, don't know how to go download it.
I go through that.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to video these things just for the heck of it. The ones we did at, Catapalooza were not as good as I want them, but they work. And I think for most people, that's where it needs to be. Audio's good on them. That's the biggest thing. As long as you got some good, clean audio people can listen to. And then I put those up too also on the podcast channel. And obviously all of that, you can go to DieterMelhornFishing.com, and I got links to the podcast, YouTube channel, and everything else. So you can tell.
And it's available. Is it available on all the major podcasting platforms?
All the major platforms. I think it's on 9 of them, if I remember right. So, but I like the podcast thing because.
Same with this one, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, you can download and subscribe to both our podcasts.
Yeah, the podcast stuff is it's an interesting world. It's like when Chad did his was before podcasts were kind of easy to listen to. You had to have, some of y'all will remember the little iPod thingy that was like you could get this podcast into, but it was just like a little block, and there was no way to it was a pain to navigate. It was a pain to download. Now everything's automated. You hit subscribe and it downloads it to your phone. I got on a plane this morning. I pulled up what podcast I was going to listen to. It's much easier now. And it's been like this reincarnation of not only podcasting, but actually radio.
Absolutely.
It's really, anybody can have a radio show now. In the day, it was Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh, and you had these few big. Now everybody can have a show, and you get people like Joe Rogan who are coming out with these podcasts that are phenomenal. Getting interviews with people that you're just like, holy cow. And so I think it's a cool format. It's different. I like dabbling in it. I think people, there's going to be more and more. I'm just trying to cover both sides of the fence there with, those who are a little more technology advanced and those that have figured out how to get onto YouTube and click on something. So you got both of them.
I get a lot of messages on, so how do I get it on podcast?
And, it's funny. I'll get it both ways. I'll be like, well, I'll listen to your podcast. I can listen to that driving, but I don't know about that video part. Or like I like the video part, but I don't know about that podcasting thing. So, that's why I call it a video podcast. That's like
it'll be every day pretty soon. We're pretty darn close, if not yet. The younger generation gets it, and we're going to take people kicking and screaming into it. So, good. You didn't want to plug anything else, Dieter, before I let you go? I know you're a busy man. You got to work tomorrow. If not work, you got videos to make.
I do. I got a bunch of editing to do. No, I mean, my only place is go to my website. If you got any questions, want to reach out to me, wonder what the heck is all this different stuff I do, it's all on there. That's where all the answers are to everything. And it's DieterMelhornFishing.com. I've had that plastered in front of your screen here for the past hour. So that's good. I appreciate you having me on. This is fun. I love doing these things, and it's weird. People are like hesitant to ask or something, but I enjoy. Well, I
was kind of waiting till I kind of had like half an idea of what to do before I started asking certain people, and you happen to be one of them. So, Lyle's always been kind enough to be on my show. I was nervous to have him on the first time, but he kind of put me at ease. So I want to give him a lot of credit and a lot of credit.
Lyle was the first one that gave me a shot when I started my channel. I don't know where he saw my stuff or heard my name, but he hit me up about being on the show, and I was like, holy cow.
He loves his YouTube, man, and he loves his YouTube fishing. He's everywhere. Good for him. Yeah, someday I'll be able to do that. Well, actually, I kind of do that all the time, so which is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, everybody listening on the podcast. This has been the Catfish and Crappie podcast with my special guest, Dieter Melhorn. I want to thank everybody in chat for showing up. I want to thank my crew members, and I want to thank the people that gave super chats today. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you all. Thank you for listening. Until next week. Oh, and I apologize for no podcast last week. I had some. I wasn't feeling well, so forgive me. Hopefully this will make up for it. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening. God bless. Thank you, Dieter. Bye-bye.